Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Tutor Justin, and this is a channel all about how ChatGTP can help you in an educational space. Yeah, you either could be a student, a professor, a teacher, a friend, a parent, anywhere you're going to get homework, somebody that is involved with homework or test taking and studying. This is the channel for you. All right, today in this topic of math here, we're talking about this math series. We're going to talk about logs and exponential equations. I never can fucking remember what the rules are for logs and what the rules are for exponential equations. I know that they're related and you can go back and forth, but sometimes it is difficult to remember, and for some reason it's difficult to do, especially in the beginning when you're just learning or when you need a refresher. You can't quite remember it. I'm going to show you how ChatGPT can be your best friend. Again, I want to start this by saying I do not think ChatGPT can replace a professor, can replace going to class, can replace that educational experience. One, nothing beats, nothing's better. You're never going to learn a subject as well as going to class. Somebody teaching you that visualization. ChatGPT just quite isn't there yet. You're reading it's just there's not really, like, you can't do an XY plane. It doesn't do good visuals. It's starting to do tables and certain aspects like that, but it's even difficult to do like something as simple as long division or multiplication, learning the old-fashioned way. It's difficult to visually see that, so that's why I always just think going to class, of course, is better. But this is a good aid as some type of study aid, homework help. If you're tutoring somebody or trying to think of practice problems, this is by all means go to way, because it's really a game changer. You save so much time. You learn faster. You learn better. When you have that, there's that solid foundation there, or somewhat of a foundation. If you're going in there trying to learn a subject for the first time, it can be rather difficult. But once you figure out how it learns, and then you kind of match it with your learning style, boom, it's off to the races. Um, and I don't care what all the olds say. Those old teachers, old professors that say, Chat GPT, you're just cheating, da 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 da. I don't fucking like it. It's terrible. All of it is plagiarism. I call bullshit. Why? Because the people that were going to plagiarize before are going to plagiarize now. It's not going to change anyway. I call that the 95-5 rule. 5% of the people fuck it up for the other 95%. So it's just, you can't just go in there and say, hey, can you write me a paper on this subject? And it just writes you a full paper. If you actually read it, you can tell a robot made it. You really can. So it's not going to replace those. If anything, it's going to replace a textbook and me as a tutor for 80% of you. I think whenever I tutored I've been tutoring for 12 years. I paid my way through undergrad and I paid my way through grad school by tutoring. And one thing that I learned, I had a 50% of the students were just there for assurance. Hey, I just want to make sure I understand this topic. I want to get a grade. I want to make sure those people, ChatGPT nails. Awesome. The people that are really struggling, that have no idea, you're still going to combat that with tutoring. You're still going to have that, but this is a way of trying to cram. Maybe when most tutoring services aren't open 24/7, so when you're trying to cram for a test, 3 a.m., boom, it's right there. It'll help you and get you right to get you that good grade. So like I said, we're going to start with some logarithms and some exponential functions, and we'll go from there. All right, so here we go. Okay, so we are going to go over log and exponential functions. And again, all of these will be in the description. I'll try to get a link so you can download the PDF to follow along. I recommend, if you're just learning stuff, pause it, write down the equations so they're easy to reference. And when I use ChatGPT when I'm doing any type of work, I normally use a combination of my phone or an iPad and my browser on my computer. In this case, we're just going to be using iPad or tablet. Works great. One feature that I like about the phone and the tablet is that you can take pictures and upload it. You don't just have to upload files, so you can write down your work, take a picture of it, and then go over the work with ChatGPT, just like if it was a tutor. So I that is the being able to do that is worth the $20 a month. And looking at the different GPTs, seeing which one works best for you, is actually worth it because it's cheaper than going through a tutoring session. One or two tutoring sessions cost more than an entire year's worth of just subscribing to this feature. So I do think the paid version, and if if you're okay with just copy and pasting it over, that's fine. I understand too that this is almost becoming obsolete of just having a problem set and a professor handing them out to you and you just kind of writing them down and turning them in. Now everything's online. Even the homework and the exams sometimes are online. And again, I don't recommend using ChatGPT for exams. Most of the time it takes too long and you're not learning the material. It's not going to work because most of the time everything's timed. I don't. But for homework, 100%. Homework is given so you can do well on it. That's why it's worth 10, 15% of your grade. It's not worth a lot, but you do it. You're supposed to earn 100%. This is where if you turn it, you make mistakes. You don't make mistakes after you turn it in. You make mistakes before. Go over it with either a TA or here, ChatGPT. It helps you make sure you do those homework questions correctly. So when you turn it in, it's 100%, and then you're learning. It provides you practice problems, all the preparation you need for a test. So that's why it's just a phenomenal resource. And today, like I said, I'll be using a tablet here. I recommend doing that. And today we're going to be going over logs and exponential functions. So as you can see here, there are some exponential functions. There are some log functions. We'll try to get through all 6. We'll see how long it takes, and we'll go from there. I actually already uploaded, and uploading it and copy and pasting it, same thing. And I, again, recommend only doing one problem at a time. When you start bombarding ChatGPT with multiple problems, it gets confused and you have to be very specific on what you're referencing. So you have to be very detailed on your prompts or what you ask ChatGPT. And it can get a little finicky. I don't recommend that. I just recommend going problem by problem and going from there. And since this is all about exponential and log functions, I remember going over these in class and thinking there are a lot of problems. And it's like, okay, it was one lecture on, adding logs. It was one lecture on, okay, if logs were in a power, if you're multiplying logs. Every lecture had a different rule. So it's like, why can't we just provide a one sheet with all the rules at the end, right? So this is what ChatGPT does. It's awesome. So can you please provide me a list of all the log and exponential rules as well as how they are related to each other? I always say please and I always say thank you because I've watched too many movies, and if robots or AI take over, I want them to know Justin was nice. Tutor Justin was nice. You always want to be nice to the AI. Be nice to everybody. I mean, there's too much negativity in there. Everyone needs to be a little bit more positive. As you can see, I'm using Tutor Me as the GPT this time. There are various there's various different GPTs that you can use. I'm just trying Tutor Me. This one's actually by Khan Academy. I was a big Khan Academy person growing up. If I needed help with anything, this was before AI. They were the go-to portion. They did a great job, and I highly recommend if you need a talking video about certain topics, go to them. All right, so logarithmic rules. It shows you what the product rule is. Oh, that's awesome. The quotient rule, the power rule, the change of base rule, the base identity rule, logarithm of 1. Okay, that's cool. Exponential rules. So if you're multiplying with the same bases, if we're dividing with the same bases, if we're taking something to a different power, that is cool. Can you look at that? They're all there. How are they related? So the exponential and logarithm functions are inverses of each other. That means by of b to the raised to the y equals x, then log to the base x equals y. Here's how this relationship works, and then it explains it to you. That's cool. That's really cool. Let's see. Can you, if you're still confused, can you explain to me in more detail on how they are related with an example? So then you're like, okay, it's a lot of math words. All right, so now give me an example of how they're related. Certainly, let's use a simple example to illustrate how exponential functions and logs are related. Because as you can, on this homework sheet, there's a bunch of logs and exponential functions. So let's see what we do. Let's say we have an exponential function, 2 raised to the third equals 8. Yep, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Good. This equation means that if we take 2 and multiply it by itself 3 times, we get 8. We ask, to what power must we raise 2 to get 8? All right, that's a whole different question. So that's why log base 2 to 8 equals 3. Cool. Here, log to the base 2 times 8 reads as log to the base 2 of 8. All right, which asks for the power to which 2 must be raised to yield 8. The answer, as we know from the exponential equation, is 3. So that's one thing that's cool about, I remember I would be nervous sometimes when you're like halfway through a semester and you look and you're like, man, I really don't even understand the relationship between logs and exponential functions, and they're already past it, right? And you can't go back. You kind of feel like a dumbass. Boom, no judgment here. It provides you with an example, and then you can even say, can you please provide me with 5 examples to work out on my own? To make sure you understand it, boom. You prompt them, can you please provide me with 5 examples to work out my own? And it does. In a matter, exponential functions, solve for x. Logarithmic, solve for z, solve for w, and it just keeps going and going from there. Remember, the key to solving exponential function is to find the power that the base is raised to. Again, one thing that gets lost in a lot of math-related subjects is repetition. I remember, if everyone looks back in their elementary school days, we did math every day. We did hundreds and thousands of problems. We had worksheets. We had timed worksheets. We had multiplication tables. You had to memorize 4 times 4 is always 16, and going on from there. And it was just constantly shoved down your throat. But at the end, you kind of remembered them, right? You remembered 4 plus 4 is always 8. Even if you counted 4, 8, 12, 16, you didn't have to use your fingers. You knew what to do. But when you get to a little bit high school and you get to college math and that repetition kind of gets lost, this will help you. And unfortunately, there is no way around. You just got to put in the work and the time sometimes. All right, so let's start with problem 1, which is, so it taught us how 2 raised to the x equals 32. So 2 raised to what power equals 32? So you have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. So I believe that's 4. So now you have to be very specific. Now let's move to the problem set I uploaded. Can you talk me through number 1? It's reading the document. Reading 2 documents. All right. Let's tackle problem 1 together. Solve for x. 2x equals 32. Perfect. First, what is the relationship between base 2 and the result of 32? How can we express 32 as the power of 2? And then it asks you, since we started from scratch, it doesn't just give you the answer. It wants you to make sure you know it. So I believe that's 4. How many times you need to multiply 2 to get close? Let's think about how many 2's we need together to multiply to get 32. 2 to the first. Can we try counting how many 2's? Is it 4 2's? 2 squared. 2 times 2 is 4. That's squared. 4 times 2 is 8. That's cubed. 16. 32. So it should be 4. Takes 4 2's. Actually, it's a bit more than 4. Let's multiply 2 by itself. Okay. 5. I miscounted. So, boom. See, even if you kind of, you're trying to count on your fingers and it's wrong, boom. Lays it all out that for you. Perfect. So it's 2 to the 5th. So x equals 5. So now we know 2 to the 5th equals 32. Perfect. All right, now let's go to, I actually did problem 2, and I messed up on purpose because I wanted to see, let's see how ChatGPT can solve problem. Let's see if it can catch you on problem 2. Thank you. Can we move on to number 2? I uploaded my answers. I uploaded a picture of what I got for number 2. So I put log to the base 2 of 64 equals 5. Because remember we talked about 2 raised to the what equals 64. Well, let's see. Reconsider how many times you need to multiply 2 by itself to get 64. So that should be 6. Is 6, or could it be a different power of 2? Based off of number 1, it should be 6. Exactly. Boom. All right. Cool. And then it explains to you now. And now let's move on to number 3 here. Express a single logarithm. So this one shows, remember, this one will show what you do when you have to multiply, or when you're adding logs with the same base, what rule. So then we can go over here. Move to number 3. So if we come up here and you look at all our rules, and this is something that's nice, you can write them down on another piece of paper if you want to copy and paste them onto a Word document so you don't have to keep scrolling and print them out, whatever you need to do. product rule, log to the base b equals m times n. When we have the same bases, right here we have log to the base 3 of 9 plus log to the base 3 of 27. Express the log. You've started by combining the two logs into one, which is a great first step. Now let's think about the properties of logarithms. Okay, so I am stuck and don't know what to do next. There are times when you get to this. For example, if we zoomed in, we multiplied 9 times 27, so we have log to the base 3 times 3 to the 5th, which is 9 times 27, it's just 243. So I remember getting to a spot in certain cases and you're like, I don't know what to do next. Well, can ChatGPT show you what it can do next? So for a log base, you would multiply 9 and 27 inside a log with base 3. Can you try to tell me what you'd get? So it didn't read it correctly. So let's type in right here. I currently have log, and if you want to do base anywhere, it's 3 underscore 3 times 3 raised to the 5th. All right. It didn't. Sometimes unless you specifically ask, it'll start over. So sometimes it's easier just to write it out if it's quick. If there's a lot in there, you retake the picture. It takes a couple times. It's not perfect. It really isn't, but it's a good way to make sure you want to get good grades on your homework. That's a great step forward. Now, since you have log 3, think about what equation is asking. It's saying, to what power must we raise 3 to get 3 to the 5th? How would you simplify that? Okay, what power must we raise 3 to get 3 to the 5th? Well, 3 to the 5th, we have to raise 3 to the 5th. We have to raise it to the 5th power so we can get 3 to the 5th equals 3 to the 5th. So we would have to raise it to the 5th power. So 3 to the x equals 3 to the 5th, so x would have to equal 5. Exactly. Boom. So we know, so when you're expressing as a single logarithm, it's just going to be 5. That's cool. Look, it checked it. It asked you questions to make you think about it. It's not just going to give you the answers. I will say, I would say math AI sometimes, if you just really want the answers, it kind of does it. This one, I think, since it's from Khan Academy, it really wants to make you understand the material. That's why I really like this GTP for just learning itself and not just trying to check your answers to make sure they're correct. Perfect. So now let's move to problem number 5 here, or problem number 4. So this one, I have x equals 5, the fifth root of fifth root of 2, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, I know this isn't right. I'm not sure where I went wrong. So because I know log 2 to the base 8 equals 3. I subtracted 3 to the other side instead of adding it. So let's see if it catches it, and let's see what it says. Next. So perfect. Thank you. Let's move to problem number 4. Can you check my answer to see where I went wrong? I can't figure it out. let's say you look at your answer. I knew that was wrong because most classes like this, you're not given a calculator, so the answer is going to be a whole number, and it's not a whole number. So sometimes when it checks your work or when you're trying to get it to check your work, it just goes through exactly how to solve it. Sometimes it checks it. It's a little 50-50. You've written that I did not say it equals 5. I actually said it equals 1. Let's take it step by step to check each part. So now it's going through, and this is actually correct. Like all the way through step 3 is actually correct. Sometimes it doesn't read the handwriting correctly, so you can say I don't recommend stopping it in the middle. So you can just say, on step 2 I actually had it equal 1 instead of 5, and then go from there. It looks like it's kind of stopped here. And it's reading. Let's take it step by step to check which part. We'll start by simplifying log 2 to the base 8. What is log 2 to the base 8? If we remember that 2 to the third equals 8, we did that. Okay. Still analyzing. So it usually kind of writes what you did. Sometimes it's not as consistent. You got to throw stuff out of left field because it goes. I've had it to where it explained how to do it and then says, all right, now let's check your work. This one, it went, let me check your work. And then it explained, now it's going through and explaining how it should be done. And then you have to do the comparison. And then sometimes if it can't tell, like it didn't read the handwriting correctly. So, but you know that you can see here that -3 equals 2, adding 3 to the other side should be 5, and you put 1. Those are just the types of things you got to be able to check on your own. Because when you're in an exam and it's crunch time and you're trying to figure out, you're trying to check to see if you've done any of those little mistakes wrong. If you catch it on your homework of what you do, you're less likely to do it on the exam, and also you're more likely to be able to catch it if you do something wrong. So it's a win-win. So it's okay. It's all right that it's going through it step by step, and you just kind of check each step as what you did on yours. And that's why I've always liked partial credit on homework, because a lot of these that you're just putting answers in, it's multiple choice. It's very easy on the professor, and that's great, and it's grading, but it's shittier for the student because you can't figure out what you did wrong, or it doesn't give you an explanation unless you actually go in to the professor in the office hours. If all 30 people were in the professor's office hours all the time, it's never going to work. Find x. So add 3 to both sides. You add 3 to both sides. Log 2 to the x equals 1. That's always going to be 1. So x should equal 2. Perfect. With these steps, we find that x equals 2, because 2 to the same base is always 2 to the base 2 of the same base is always going to be 1. Perfect. Helped clarify it there. And now let's do problem 6. This one is, I didn't write anything. We have x raised to the 2 log base 10. So we have a log in the exponent. So perfect. Thank you. Now let's move to number 6. So this would be the time when, if you had copy and paste, if you're looking on Pearson or Blackboard or Canvas or some type of online version of your math questions, this is where you just copy and paste it over there and you should be good to go. I don't remember the rule when there is a log in the exponent. So let's see it. Let's see how it explains those types of rules. Because again, on a lot of these mathematic questions, it's all about experience. there's only a finite number of ways it can ask you a question, especially on logs and exponentials. So if you look at each and every scenario and are prepared for each and every scenario, you'll be fine. And looking at this, exponentials and logs are always related somehow. So if there's a log and an exponent, first thing you got to know is there's got to be a fucking rule for it. What is it? There's got to be a rule. For problem 6, we need to solve for x in the equation. Boom. All right, good. Let's write the equation down. Always writes it very nicely too. And this is why, and when you copy and paste it over, it still reads everything correctly. You might have to change a few things because sometimes when you copy and paste, the exponents or the subscripts don't come out too correctly. So there has to be some slight modification. But again, this isn't something to save time. This is to make sure you understand the material and to do well on the exam. Like, this isn't something that's you're just gonna, hey, I have 50 questions to go over. As you can see, we've done 5 questions. We skipped one because it's very similar to the previous one, and I thought it was you could do that one on your own, see how ChatGPT does it, and to check your work. That's one for you guys to practice. But this 5th one here, it's taken a bit of time. So let's see. We solve for x in the equation. This involves a logarithm and exponent. There's a rule in logs and exponents that says a to the log base a of x equals x, which is very handy. This is because the base a raised to the logarithmic of x with the same base a simply gives you x. So that means that base is the same. So that means it's equal to x. So 2x. Okay, what does it do with that? So what would the equation look like? So would it be just equals x? So 100x. So what do you do with the 2 coefficient? So would it be 2? So if base 10, so would it be 2x equals 100? What does that look like here? Let's see. Okay. So that equals that. Tells us that whatever result we get from the logarithm, it is going to be doubled. To apply that rule to that directly, we'd see that just 10 in the exponent. Okay, because we can use a property of exponents to help us. Okay. Yeah, so it's just going to be 2 times that whatever x is. Perfect. Okay. What would 10... Is it just x? It's always just the inside, right? Does that simplify to x? Or is it 10x? No, it should be just x, right? That is correct. So 10, remember all of those, since it's 10 raised to the log base of 10, we just get whatever's in the parentheses, x. That's easy to remember. So if we square that result, it's not 2x. We squared it, so it has to be x squared. So it's 2 times whatever it is. 2 squared, or it's a squared of whatever that's inside. That's interesting. So then it's x squared equals 100x. Boom, that's easy to do. We subtract 100x to each side. Equals 0. X equals 100 or x equals 0. Perfect. So x would equal, can you solve for x here? Cool. We can divide each side by, so we know that 0 is 1, and then x squared equals 100x, divide by x equals 100. Perfect. That would be it. That's awesome. And now one of my favorite parts is, all right, thank you for your help. Now let's say you're studying. I recommend each homework having its own chat. So therefore, when we're going back to a previous homework, like this problem set on exponentials and logs, and you're trying to study, you can say, I am now starting to study for my exam. Can you please provide me with 5 additional problems I can solve that are similar in difficulty level of all of the practice problems I uploaded. Sometimes if you ask it weird, if you just ask, can you find me 5 additional practice problems, it'll just do the last one you did. So you got to try to be as specific as possible. Hey, I uploaded that document. Now I'm studying for an exam. Can you give me 5 additional problems to study for? And it's thinking, don't try to do 30. It's going to take a lot of time to think. I always recommend just do 5 at a time. You do 5, or at practice, it gives you 5, you do 5, you go after. After you do all 5, I recommend, okay, let's go to each one. What do I do? Perfect, go. All right, now let's do another set of 5. Because 30 might be too many. Right after 5, you can be like, oh, I get it, I'm good. Let's say you do 30, let's say it gives you 30. You do 30. Going back and forth on a set of 30, it does not do a good job of referencing it correctly. You have to be very detailed and very specific in your prompt. Highly recommend just do 5 at a time. Don't do 5. Sometimes it's just 3. Exponential equation, logarithmic, perfect. Using logs to solve, combining logarithms, and it gives you different topics. That's cool. And then if you say, hey, I want to use different ones to recognize, or I want to use different practice problems on each of the logarithm rules. Boom, it'll give you one for each. And then you can ask it, how do you recognize which rule to use for each problem? That's a difficult one. I remember going through these as a student and just looking at it and thinking, what rule should I apply here? And again, it helps with just repetition. You gotta stick through it. This does a good job too of let's see how it explains it. Here's a brief guide for multiplying numbers inside a log. Use the product rule. Just recognizing these rules and which one to use. So when you go to solve them, if you say, hey, when you provide me the detail, can you provide me which rule to use? And sometimes there's 3 different rules you can use. There is no one right answer or one way. It's whatever one you're really familiar, whichever one you really like. But as you can see here, it's explaining which rules to use. It does a great job. If you have a number raised to a power inside a log, use the power rule. For each new problem, look for familiar forms. That's exactly what I do. Bx equals y or log by equals x. All right, if we're just in the simple form, we know that relationship. When we did that one where it was an exponential was raised to a log, All right, same base. All right, we know what it is there. Okay, it's always what's in the parentheses. So those types of little key things you got to kind of recognize. I would even write a specific, like after the rule, when to use it, or look what key things to look for. When you're using the product rule, okay, we're adding exponents. When you're using the quotient rule, okay, we're dividing exponents. Exponential rule, okay, the something's raised to an exponent. All right. Okay, so as you can see here, this was a great way, ChatGPT, great way to use logs and exponentials. And for anything, the best part for me is just finding all the rules in one area. A good, concise way of a place to use to find the rules. It's awesome. Okay, so that will do it for our video today. Hope you liked it. Click the whole like and subscribe. You can follow me on X at the Tutor Justin. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment down below if you want me to look over or see how ChatGPT does a specific topic, or hell, if you even want a problem. Hey, I'm stuck on this. How can ChatGPT help me with this issue? And I'll do my best to create a video and see how we can go from there. All right, so I hope you guys have a great rest of your semester. I hope this helps with students, or even a professor or a tutor or a teacher or a parent, just by having a quick refresher or having a way to use practice problems for the student or whoever you're helping. Just a great tool. I hope everyone has a great day. All right, peace.